Your default mode network, the imagination engine buried inside your skull, is burning through 20% of your brain's total energy right now. Not to solve a problem, not to plan dinner, to replay an argument that never happened and make sure you win it. A Psychology Today analysis by cognitive scientist Scott Barry Kaufman calls this system the imagination network. It drives memory, empathy, creativity, but it has a failure mode, rumination, a locked loop. Your mind not wandering freely but grinding the same groove deeper and deeper, rehearsing a confrontation with your boss, your mother, a stranger from 3 weeks ago, and engineering the perfect devastating comeback. Here is what no one tells you. Your brain is not malfunctioning when it does this. It is executing a protocol, a biological protocol designed by millions of years of social survival. And the most disturbing part is not that your brain forces you to win these fake arguments. It is what happens to your body while you are winning them. The neural architecture behind this compulsion was mapped in a study published in the Journal of Neuroscience. Researchers used fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging, a scanner that photographs blood flow inside a living brain, to watch what happens when subjects imagine future events. What they found split the default mode network into two separate machines. The ventral default mode network, the lower system, handles event construction. It builds the scene, the face of the person you are arguing with, the room, the lighting, the vividness. The more detailed the imagined argument becomes, the harder this lower system fires. But the dorsal default mode network, the upper system, does something entirely different. It handles evaluation, valence. Whether the imagined event feels good or bad, triumphant or humiliating, when you land that perfect line in a fake argument, that rush of satisfaction, that is the upper system firing two separate neural engines, one making the argument feel real, the other making the victory feel satisfying, operating simultaneously. A clinical overview from ReachLink quantified the energy cost. Your default mode network consumes roughly 20% of your brain's total energy expenditure even during rest. Not during complex math, not during emergency response, at rest. That is more energy than your visual cortex uses when you are staring at a sunset, and your brain is spending it on memory consolidation, emotion processing, and simulating future scenarios, including conflicts that have not occurred. The same neural machinery that remembers your past also simulates your future. Neuroscientists call this prospection, the brain's ability to rehearse what might happen next. It is not a glitch. It is a survival system. Your brain constantly generates social simulations because, for your ancestors, losing a social argument could mean exile, and exile meant death. But there is a problem with this neural mapping. The brain's prospection system cannot distinguish between a real social threat and an invented one. Your amygdala, the almond-shaped threat detector sitting deep inside your temporal lobe, responds to imagined conflict with the same cascade it would deploy for a real confrontation. Cortisol enters your bloodstream, your heart rate climbs, your muscles tighten, your body is preparing for a fight with no one. So the question becomes, why does winning feel so good? Your dorsal default mode network, the evaluator, does not simply rate imagined events as positive or negative. It feeds that rating back into the construction engine. The ventral system responds by making the scenario more vivid, more detailed, more real, which triggers a stronger evaluation, which triggers more vivid construction. A loop, a locked loop. The exact mechanism Kaufman distinguishes from healthy mind wandering. Rumination is not your mind roaming free. It is your mind trapped in a single circuit, amplifying itself. Research from the National Institutes of Health confirms that the default mode network facilitates self-reflection, retrieval of personal memories, and mental simulation of past and future events, including imaginary scenarios. This is not a disorder. This is the system working as designed. Your brain is running social conflict simulations the same way a military computer runs war games, except you cannot turn it off. And every completed simulation, every fake argument you win, reinforces the loop. Your body pays for each victory. Cortisol from imagined conflict damages hippocampal neurons over time. The hippocampus, your memory center, physically shrinks from chronic stress hormone exposure. You are literally degrading your own brain by winning arguments that do not exist. And the University of Toronto Neuropsychology lab found something that makes this worse. The default mode network shows common functional connectivity across rest and future imagining, but there are robust and meaningful differences across task conditions. Translation: your brain uses different wiring patterns when it is genuinely resting versus when it is constructing future scenarios. It shifts into a separate mode, a mode that feels like rest but operates like work. You think you are relaxing. Your brain is rehearsing. Here is the protocol your brain is executing and why it will not stop. Every social interaction you have ever had is stored not as a static memory but as a template, a rerunnable simulation. When any environmental cue, a tone of voice, a facial expression, even a word, matches a past conflict template, the ventral default mode network fires. It reconstructs the scene. The dorsal system evaluates the outcome. If the original outcome was unfavorable, you lost, you froze, you said the wrong thing, the system reruns the simulation with modifications, new dialogue, better timing, the perfect response you never delivered. And when the modified simulation produces a favorable evaluation, your brain releases a small neurochemical reward. Not for solving a real problem, for solving a fake one. The loop closes. The template updates. And the next time a similar cue appears, the threshold for activation is lower. Your brain is training itself to argue with ghosts. The biological cost is cumulative. Each imagined victory requires cortisol for the threat phase and a reward signal for the resolution phase. Your body cycles between stress and relief dozens of times per day during your commute, in the shower, lying in bed, without a single real interaction occurring. This is why you feel exhausted after doing nothing. Why your jaw is clenched right now. Why your shoulders are raised half an inch higher than they need to be. Your body has been fighting all day, every muscle recruited, every hormone deployed, against an opponent who was never in the room. The system that evolved to protect you from tribal exile is now running continuously in a world where tribal exile no longer exists. But no one told your amygdala, no one updated the firmware. The threat detector is still scanning for social danger. And every time it finds even the faintest signal, the entire simulation engine spins up. The question your brain will not let you ask is this: if every fake argument you win makes the next one easier to trigger, how many of the thoughts you are having right now were actually chosen by you? The loop is running. Your shoulders know it. Your jaw knows it. And tomorrow, we decode the protocol your nervous system uses to decide which memories become permanent and which ones it deletes while you sleep.